Hey guys, tonight we will hear a dramatic story, what it was really like to live on the Oregon Trail. You'll step into the ragged boots of a traveler, one who dared to leave everything behind for a dream that could crumble with a single wrong turn. You will never imagine that this terrible thing could happen. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're still awake at the end, leave a comment with your location and the local time. I love seeing how far this sleepy little history travels. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing at the edge of Independence, Missouri. The year is 1846. The summer air is sticky and your palms are blistered from preparing the wagon again. All around you, people are murmuring and muttering, some praying, some boasting, some staring off into the distance, as if already imagining what death might look like on the open trail. You pull your hat lower to shade your eyes and glance behind you. There's your younger sister Clara, only 11, tying a ribbon around her doll's neck. Your mother, widowed just last winter, tries to smile, but her eyes are rimmed red from a long night of doubts. Your neighbor and wagon partner, Elias Grady, a stubborn mule of a man in his 50s, double-checks the canvas on his wagon, as if that alone will shield him from what's to come. And then there's Jonah, quiet, wiry, the blacksmith's son from 3 farms down. He said goodbye to no one. He's chasing something, but he won't say what. You wonder what you're chasing, too. Not gold, not fame, just land. Freedom. A place where you won't feel like the world is shrinking with every season. The West promises air, space, possibility. You tell yourself it will all be worth it. Your wagon creaks as the oxen snort and shift their hooves. They're big creatures, dumb but loyal. Your family's whole life is stuffed inside the wagon flour sacks, bacon wrapped in muslin, a cracked Bible, 2 rifles, Clara's spinning top, a sack of beans. Every item carefully chosen, every ounce weighed. You had to leave behind the spinning wheel, the mirror, your father's old violin. Too heavy, too fragile. No room for sentiment on the Oregon Trail. At sunrise, the caravan begins to roll forward. 50 wagons, a river of creaking wood and trudging beasts. Your boots sink into the churned earth as you walk beside the wagon hands on the sideboard, mind already counting the miles ahead. Over 2,000 of them. 2,000 miles of dust blisters, rattlesnakes, storms, cholera, and fear. The first few days are deceptively calm. The prairie rolls out like a sea of green and gold, and the wind plays gently with the long grass. You pass fields of wildflowers and herds of bison that look like thunderclouds on the move. The sky is enormous, the kind that makes you feel like you're falling upward. You and Jonah walk together often. He doesn't talk much, but when he does, it's worth hearing. He shows you how to spot wild onions and talks about the stars like they're old friends. One night, while the wagons circle and the fires crackle, he draws constellations in the dirt and says, "You ever think maybe we're just part of someone else's trail?" You don't know what to say to that. Clara falls ill on the 5th night. Just a fever, the doctor says, a grizzled man with 3 teeth and whiskey breath. Your mother boils water with crushed willow bark and prays in murmurs. You sit outside the wagon and listen to Clara's weak coughs and the distant howls of coyotes. You don't sleep. By day 7, you've crossed the Big Blue River. It nearly takes Elias's wagon with it. He screams at the oxen as the wheels dip and tilt and vanish under the muddy water. But they make it. Barely. He throws up on the other side and curses the gods. That night, he sits alone. You wonder if he regrets coming. Food begins to stretch thin. You ration hardtack and dried apples. Jonah shoots a rabbit, and you all share it like it's a banquet. Everyone talks less now. The trail starts to feel like a long sigh, never ending, always heavy. You see your first grave on day 10. Just a mound of rocks with a wooden post. The name burned into it, Martha, age 4. No dates, no farewell. Clara holds your hand tighter and doesn't let go for a long time. The sun beats down without mercy. Your shoulders burn. Your lips crack. Dust becomes part of your lungs, your clothes, your skin. Every time you blink, it grits between your eyelids. One evening, a thunderstorm rolls over the plains. The sky turns green, the wind screams, and the wagons are forced into a haphazard cluster. You dive inside just before the hail starts. It sounds like war ice bullets hammering the canvas. Clara cries. You hold her, whispering that it's just a storm, it'll pass. But you're not sure you believe it. When morning comes, one of the wagons is split open. Supplies scattered, flour soaked. The family inside decides to turn back. Too dangerous, they say. The rest of you move on. Quieter now. And so the trail continues. Over the next ridge and the next, and the one after that. The land changes. The people change. You start to forget what your bedroom looked like, what the river near your farm smelled like, how the church bell sounded. The trail eats those memories and replaces them with the rhythm of wagon wheels and the distant groan of oxen. At night, when you stare at the stars, you wonder if you'll even recognize Oregon when you get there. If you'll know what to do when the trail finally ends. But tonight, the fire is warm and Jonah's voice hums a tune with no words. Clara sleeps beside you, the fever gone. Your mother sews quietly by firelight, the thread trembling just slightly in her hands. Elias carves something into the side of his wagon, the blade clicking in rhythm. And you, dusty and worn, are still standing, still moving forward, because the trail hasn't broken you yet. By the 12th day, the prairie begins to change. The wide open fields flatten out into a vast nothingness, an endless stretch of grass that looks the same in every direction. The sky swells above, more sky than you've ever known, and the heat deepens its grip. Every step feels heavier. Even the birds seem tired. Your oxen move slower now, not from laziness, but from wear. You learn the sounds they make when they're hungry, when they're scared, when they're in pain. They've become more than animals. They're your engines, your sentinels, your quiet companions. You whisper to them at night without meaning to. Clara has started collecting feathers. She tucks them into the folds of her dress like they're treasure. One afternoon, she finds a bright red one and declares it lucky. "We won't die if I keep this," she says, clutching it like a spell. You don't challenge her. Everyone needs something to believe in. Jonah still walks beside you. Some days he's up before the sun building fires and scouting the trail ahead. Other times he vanishes for hours, returning with a rabbit or a bruised piece of fruit. He never explains where he's been. You learn not to ask. Elias, on the other hand, grows louder. Maybe it's the heat. Maybe it's the miles. He argues with the trail guide, curses at the oxen. grumbles about everyone's cooking. One morning he slams a tin cup so hard it dents in his hand. That night, you overhear him muttering to himself about a wife who begged him not to go. He hadn't mentioned her before. There's a strange silence that creeps into the group. Not the kind that means peace, but the kind that wraps itself around you when people are too tired to pretend anymore. Small talk fades. Songs disappear. Laughter becomes rare, and when it comes, it feels almost out of place. Then come the flies, a thick black cloud of them birthed from the heat and the waste and the rot of small dead things along the path. They swarm your face, crawl inside your sleeves, get in your mouth when you speak. You wave them away, but they return with the loyalty of shadows. That's when the dysentery starts. You hear the coughing first, a rasp deep and ugly coming from a young man 2 wagons down. His wife tries to wash him, feed him broth, say prayers. But soon he's shaking, soiling his bedding, calling for a mother long gone. You pass by quietly. Everyone does. There's nothing to be done. You have water, but not enough. Herbs, but not the right ones. He dies on the 14th day, buried quickly wrapped in a wool blanket, with a wooden marker that simply says, Thomas. 23. Your mother says a prayer, her voice steady. Clara asks if he had any children. You don't know what to say. 2 days later, a child goes missing. A boy only 5 years old. He wandered off while his parents were repacking a tipped barrel. They thought he was with another family. No one noticed until the wagons had already moved an hour forward. Panic spreads like fire. People shout his name. They fan out, searching the tall grass, the edge of the trees, the creek. You search too, heart-hammering. You imagine Clara vanishing that way, slipping into the wild like smoke. They find him at sunset. Face down in the creek, a broken branch nearby. His father carries the body back himself. No one eats that night. The next morning, the mood is different. The air carries more weight. The trail no longer feels like a challenge. It feels like a sentence. That's when the wheels on Elias's wagon crack. A deep groan, a splintering snap, and suddenly half the supplies are on the ground, his oxen startled and thrashing. Everyone rushes to help. You grab the rope and haul flour sacks out of the dirt while your mother binds the mules. Jonah inspects the damage. It can be fixed, Jonah says, if we stop for a day. Elias shakes his head. We can't lose a day. That's when it starts. What starts, you ask? He doesn't answer. You end up stopping anyway. The repairs take longer than expected, and the sun doesn't wait for anyone. That night, your group makes camp near a dry stream bed. The soil is cracked and gray. You boil coffee with a strange tasting water that leaves your mouth sticky. No one complains. Jonah sits beside you and begins shaping something from a piece of driftwood. It's small and narrow, slowly forming into the rough shape of a horse. He doesn't speak, just carves. You wonder if the silence is his armor, the thing that keeps the world from swallowing him whole. In the middle of the night, you wake to distant thunder. But there are no clouds, no rain. Just the low rumbling growl of something moving far off across the plains. Buffalo, hundreds of them. You sit up and peer through the canvas flap. Moonlight dances off the hills, and for a moment, the horizon shimmers with dark shapes rolling massive, ancient. You feel it in your chest before you see it. The land is alive, and you are tiny. The herd doesn't come close. By morning it's gone, but the dust lingers. So you move on. The days blur again. Blisters break. Your lips split. Clara cries quietly one evening, missing her cat. You hug her, kiss her dirt-smudged forehead, and say that you'll have a new cat in Oregon. You don't know if that's true, but it feels right. At night, your mother starts talking to your father again. Not in a delusional way, just softly, like she's imagining he's beside her. She tells him about Clara's fever, about the cracked wheel, about you and how strong you've become. You pretend not to hear. Jonah gives Clara the wooden horse. She sleeps with it pressed to her chest. And then on the 19th day, you see mountains in the distance. Just a hint of white and blue against the haze. Not close, not even halfway close, but there. Real. You feel something stir in your chest. Not hope, not exactly, but something like it. And that night, for the first time in a long while, you dream. Not of home, not of Oregon, just of walking. Forever forward. By the 20th day, your legs have become machines. You no longer think about walking. Your body simply moves. One step, then another. Your boots are worn smooth at the heel, and the dust has painted your skin a permanent shade of trail gray. When you pass a creek and see your reflection in the water, you hardly recognize the person staring back. The prairie has begun to tilt upward now. The land rolls harder, the climbs steeper. You wake each day with a sore back and aching shoulders, but you keep going. There's no other choice. Turning back would take you farther from your future than forward ever could. One evening, your mother takes you aside. She's thinner now. Her cheeks are sunken, and the blue in her eyes has dulled. She holds a letter one she's written on a scrap of canvas using crushed berries for ink. It's addressed to your aunt in Kentucky. She hands it to you. If anything happens, she says, voice barely above a whisper, make sure someone delivers it. You don't argue. You fold it carefully, press it into the pocket of your coat, and nod. Then you both pretend she never gave it to you. On the 24th day, you pass another grave. This one is fresh flowers still wilted beside the mound. The wooden sign reads, Nora, beloved wife. You don't know who Nora was, but for the rest of the day, her name repeats in your mind like a rhythm, Nora, Nora, Nora. That same day, the caravan halts near a rocky pass. The guide, a wiry man named Cooper with a long scar down his jaw, warns that the next stretch is steep and narrow. The wagons will have to go one at a time. Everyone tightens their packs and braces for a slow crawl. Jonah volunteers to lead. You follow close behind. The trail narrows to little more than a mule path pressed between a cliff wall and a drop that looks like it has no bottom. One wrong step and everything you've carried could be gone. You press your hand against the rock wall and move inch by inch. The wagon wheels screech. One of the oxen nearly slips, and you hear your mother gasp behind you. But Jonah steadies the yoke, whispers something to the beast, and the wagon lurches forward. You don't breathe again until you're back on level ground. That night, Clara insists on sleeping beside you. She says she had a dream that the trail swallowed you whole. Like it was alive, she whispers. Like it wanted to keep you. You tell her that dreams can't hurt her. But even as you say it, your eyes drift toward the edge of camp, where the darkness clings thick like wet cloth, and you wonder if she's right. The next morning brings the first serious injury. A young boy named Matthew tries to climb onto the wagon tongue while it's moving. He slips. The wheel crushes his foot before anyone can stop it. His screams don't sound like a child's. They sound like something broken deep in the earth. His mother wails. His father turns away, shoulders rigid, jaw clenched. Jonah rushes in with a belt and a bottle of liquor. There's no doctor, only rough hands and the hard choices they make. The foot can't be saved. You help hold the boy down. When it's done, they bury the foot like it was a separate person. Clara watches silent. Later that evening, Elias throws out 2 sacks of sugar, says the wagon is too heavy. His hands are shaking. He hasn't slept well in days. You find him staring at the horizon like he's waiting for something that refuses to come. "Do you think this was a mistake?" he asks you, voice low. You don't answer right away. "Then I think we won't know until it's over." He nods like that's enough. On the 30th day, you reach a river. Not a wide one, but deep and fast. Cooper says it's crossable if the wagons are sealed well. He looks at your wagon checks the caulking spits on the ground and says, "You'll be fine." Probably. You hate that word. Probably. The crossing begins at dawn. You take the oxen slowly into the water, guiding them with gentle clicks. The current pushes hard, tugging at the wheels like it wants to spin them off. Clara clings to the inside of the wagon, and your mother mutters psalms under her breath. Midway through, the rear wheel jerks, a jolt sharp and terrifying. For a second, you think it's all going under, but Jonah's already on the far side, wading in waist deep to steady it. With a grunt and a shove, the wagon rocks forward again. When you reach the other bank, you drop to your knees. Not from exhaustion, though it's there, but from the realization that you're still whole, still here. Not everyone is so lucky. One wagon downstream tips. A man is pulled under trying to save his ox. He doesn't surface. They drag his body out 3 hours later, face pale, eyes open. No one speaks as they bury him. His wife kneels beside the grave, lips moving, but no sound coming out. Clara slips her red feather into the grave. You say nothing. Just place a hand on her shoulder. That night, the fire feels colder. The stars seem dimmer. You lie awake listening to the sound of wolves in the distance. Not howling, just moving, watching. And for the first time, you let yourself wonder, what if Oregon isn't real? What if it's just a story people tell themselves to make the pain make sense? You close your eyes and try to picture it anyway. A cabin, a garden, peace. But all you see is trail. Dirt and dust and firelight and footsteps, forever forward. By the 33rd day, the land begins to rise in earnest. The plains, once endless and flat, now pitch into hills that roll like the backs of sleeping giants. Every incline feels like a test. Your oxen groan, your thighs burn. Even the wagons seem to breathe harder, wheels creaking under the strain. And yet the landscape is stunning. Pine trees dot the hillsides now, and the wind smells different, cooler, sharper, carrying with it a whisper of mountain air. It feels cleaner somehow, as if the earth is shaking off the grime of the prairie. For a fleeting moment, you feel almost alive again. Then the rains begin. Not a drizzle. Not the kind of gentle shower that sings you to sleep. No, this is the kind of rain that soaks straight to your bones. Sheets of water that pound the canvas until it sags and leaks. It turns the trail into a sucking pit of mud, dragging at your boots, threatening to swallow wheels whole. One wagon tips during a steep descent, its axle snapping like a bone. No one is hurt, but the cargo salt pork book's blanket spills into the muck. A frantic hour is spent trying to salvage what you can. Most of it is lost. The family shrinks into their soggy wagon, too tired to cry. That night, everything is wet. Your bedding, your clothes, your hope. Clara shivers beside you, her teeth clicking like clock gears. Your mother rubs her arms and whispers lullabies she barely remembers the melody to. You offer them what warmth you can. Jonah brings over his oilskin coat and drapes it across your family without a word. Then he sits by the fire and stares into the flames, unmoving eyes dark. In the morning, Elias is gone. His wagon is still there, horses tied, supplies untouched. But the man himself has vanished. Panic sets in quickly. Cooper organizes a search party. You join Jonah and two others fanning out into the hills. The rain has softened the ground, so at first it's easy. You find tracks leading northwest, small depressions in the wet grass. You follow them through a thicket of trees over a ridge, and finally, after nearly 3 hours, you find him. Elias is sitting on a rock overlooking a shallow canyon. His hat is off, soaked through. His beard is matted with rain. His eyes are hollow, like the light inside him has gone out. He doesn't look up when you approach. "I was just listening," he says, "to nothing." You sit beside him. Jonah doesn't say a word, but he watches closely. After a long silence, Elias finally speaks again. "She died," he mutters. "Back home, the day after I left. Pneumonia, they think. I got the letter in Fort Kearney. Didn't open it for 2 weeks. Couldn't." He turns to look at you. "I should have stayed. But then, what was the point?" No one has an answer. Eventually he stands. He doesn't ask for help, just brushes the mud off his trousers and walks back with you, slower than before, but walking. Back at camp, Cooper says nothing when Elias returns, just nods and gestures toward the wagons. Everyone is quiet that evening, even Clara. The rain stops 2 days later. The world emerges sodden and steaming, like it's been reborn through pain. Jonah takes you up a ridge at sunset. From the top, the world spreads out in every direction, deep green valleys, distant peaks tinged with snow, and the slow bend of a river like a silver thread below. "It's beautiful," you say. Jonah nods. "Too big to ever own," he replies, "but maybe just big enough to get lost in." You wonder what he means by that, but you don't ask. On the 37th day, a girl named Hannah goes into labor. She's only 17. Her husband, barely older, is pale as ash. No one is prepared. The women cluster around the wagon, and the men drift to the edge of camp, pretending not to listen. Your mother helps. So does an older woman named Ruth, who once delivered a goat. The screams echo off the trees. It takes 12 hours. By the time the baby comes, the sky is black, and the fire has burned to embers. But it's alive. A girl. Red-faced, wailing, small enough to fit in 2 hands. Hannah is too weak to speak, but she holds the child with a strength that stuns you. Everyone gathers the next morning to see the baby. She's named Hope. No one says it out loud, but the name feels like a spell. After that, the pace slows. Not from exhaustion, but caution. Every step forward is harder now. The trail narrows through rough passes, the wagons jostling over rock and root. You pass a dead ox lying in a ditch picked clean by scavengers. No one has the energy to look away anymore. You meet another caravan coming from the opposite direction, heading back east. A man with sunburned cheeks warns that the next mountain pass is blocked by snow. "Turn back," he says, "or winter will eat you." Cooper listens but doesn't flinch. "We've got time," he says. "Just keep moving." That becomes the chant. Just keep moving. Even when your feet bleed. Even when the sky darkens too early. Even when your dreams turn to smoke and you forget the shape of your old home. One evening, Clara asks you if the trail ever ends. Not when, if you don't answer, but you hold her hand a little tighter that night. Because maybe she's right. Maybe the trail never ends. Maybe it just becomes you. The fort comes into view on the 42nd day. Fort Laramie. It rises from the earth like a promise, low stone walls, a crooked flag smoke from cook fires curling into the sky. After weeks of nothing but trail, it feels like a city. You squint at it like you've forgotten what standing buildings even look like. People move toward it like moths. The smell of bread and tobacco is overwhelming. You hadn't realized how numb your senses had become. Now every scent is a memory, every sound too sharp. You trade a sack of beans for coffee. Cooper barters for new yoke straps and gunpowder. Someone sells a quilt. Someone else trades boots for a tin pan. There's no money here, only need. You sit by the fort's small river with Jonah watching your reflection ripple across the surface. "Feels like cheating," he says. "What does this, a roof, walls, a place to stop?" You smile, but part of you agrees. The trail makes you forget comfort. And when comfort returns, it feels unfamiliar, like it belongs to someone else. That night, you sleep indoors for the first time in over a month. The floor is hard, but there's no wind, no howling, no threat. And yet you don't sleep well. You're used to the rhythm of wagon wheels, to Clara breathing beside you, to the distant creak of trees and the soft mumble of night voices. Without them, the silence becomes too loud. You leave before dawn. Outside, you find your mother already awake, boiling water over a small fire. Clara sleeps curled under a blanket, one hand clutching her wooden horse. Jonah is feeding the oxen. Elias is scraping dried mud from his boots, muttering something under his breath. You join them quietly, and the world returns to its familiar discomfort. You spend 2 days at the fort. On the second afternoon, you hear shouting. A fight breaks out between two men over a stolen blanket. One man draws a knife. Blood spills quickly, soaking into the dirt. The man collapses. No one moves at first. Then the fort soldiers drag the attacker away. No trial, just silence. The dead man is buried behind the mess hall. No name, no marker, just like that. You leave the next morning. The trail narrows again, more rock than soil, now the terrain unforgiving. Wagon wheels bounce and jolt. Axles groan. People stumble more often. Scrapes become gashes. Blisters become wounds. Every injury is a potential death sentence. Clara cuts her palm on a rusted hinge. You wash it carefully, pack it with chewed pine resin, the way Jonah taught you. She winces, but doesn't cry. She hasn't cried in days. She's changing. So are you. Jonah tells you stories as you walk. Sometimes they sound true about mountain men who lived with bears or tribes who could follow a trail by scent alone. Other times he talks about things that don't make sense at all. Voices in the wind, lights in the sky, ghost herds that stampede across the plains at night. You don't ask if he's making them up. You want to believe. You pass through a wide basin ringed with stones, dozens of them arranged in careful circles. Sacred, someone whispers. You step around them, head bowed, heart quiet. That night, as the fire flickers low, your mother shares a story of her own about your father, the first time he touched the ocean. How he stood ankle deep for an hour, silent, like the waves were telling him a secret. She says she thinks Oregon might feel like that. She hopes so. Then she presses a small locket into your hand. Inside a faded drawing of your father sketched in charcoal on paper, soft as petals. I want you to carry him now, she says. You can't speak. You nod. The trail winds through forests now. Tall pines, silent and watchful. The shadows are heavier here. You feel watched not by people, but by the land itself. You begin to hear drums at night. Faint, rhythmic. No one can say where they come from. The older travelers say it's nothing, that it's just the wind or your heartbeat in your ears. But Jonah looks uneasy one night. He doesn't return from scouting. Morning comes, then noon. Still no sign. You search the woods, call his name, find boot prints in the moss, but they vanish near a stream. No blood, no struggle, just absence. You return to camp without him. Clara weeps quietly that night, but your mother holds her. You sit by the fire, turning the locket over in your palm, waiting for Jonah to step out of the darkness. He doesn't. The next day, you press on. The forest opens into high plains again. The land seems larger now, emptier. You wonder if Jonah is still walking somewhere out there just on the other side of the horizon, or if the trail took him. And as you walk, you realize something has shifted. Before you were walking toward something. Now you're walking away. Away from the past. From home. From the version of yourself that existed in Missouri. The version that didn't know how to shoot a rattlesnake. That didn't know the weight of a locket. The sound of a scream through pine trees. The feel of grief without a grave. Still the wagons roll forward. Still your boots rise and fall. Still the trail unfolds dust and silence and memories like a ribbon unraveling into forever. You don't speak Jonah's name for 3 days. Not because you've forgotten, but because to speak it would make his absence too real, too heavy. So instead, you press forward, one foot, then the other. You feel it in your ribs like a missing tooth. Something is gone, and now everything tastes different. Clara asks where he went. Your mother says maybe he found a shorter path, a shortcut to Oregon. You nod along, but Clara frowns. If he did, she says, why didn't he tell us goodbye? You have no answer. The trail takes you through dry country now. No trees, no shade, just hills made of dust and stone and heat. The sun grows crueler. It beats on your neck, seeps into your scalp, makes your tongue feel like burlap. Water becomes a prayer. One day your canteen is nearly empty by mid-morning. You stop with your mother and Clara beside a boulder trying to stretch the last drops. Your mother tips the canteen and gets barely a trickle. Clara's lips are cracked, her cheeks flushed. "I can walk," she says, voice soft. "Don't carry me." No one offered to. That's how far things have come. By late afternoon, you find a spring. Shallow, sluggish, with frogs clinging to the edges and flies spinning lazy circles above it, but water nonetheless. You drop to your knees and drink until your stomach aches. Cooper tells everyone to fill what they can. You do, even though the water smells like copper. Someone boils it. Someone else says not to waste the firewood. Arguments rise, fall, die. That night the wind returns. Not a storm, not a breeze, but something in between. It whispers through the camp like a warning. You lie awake holding your father's locket and think of Jonah. Whether he's still breathing. Whether he too is staring at the sky. You dream of snow that night, of a frozen trail, of Clara barefoot and your mother gone. You wake with your heart hammering and your throat dry. On the 50th day, you reach Chimney Rock. It rises like a crooked finger from the plains, tall and pale, casting a long bent shadow across the trail. Clara gasps when she sees it. Is that Oregon? You almost laugh. Almost. No, you say. It's a marker, like a signpost. For the rest of the day, everyone seems to walk lighter. Not because the path is easier, but because now you know you're not lost. You're still on the trail, still going the right way. People carve their names into the base of Chimney Rock. Dates, initials, small messages. You scratch yours in with the back of your knife, just beneath a heart someone else left behind. Maybe Jonah will see it. Maybe not. You move again at dawn. The land becomes crueler. You lose a wagon. The slope is too steep. The wheels catch wrong. The brake rope snaps. You watch the whole thing tumble, a blur of canvas and wood and supplies down a ravine. The oxen shriek. One breaks a leg. The other lies still. The family screams, scrambles. The father tries to climb down. Cooper stops him. "You go down there, you'll die too," he says. So they stand at the edge and watch as their life lies broken below. Nothing to do but turn and walk on. You pass more graves now, some with names, most without. Little wooden markers, crooked stones, even bits of tin hammered into crude crosses. Each one a warning, each one a story with no ending. You begin to speak less. The trail wears away more than flesh. It grinds down the voice, the mind, the memory of softness. You barely remember your bed, or the sound of a door closing, or the color blue. Everything is dirt and ache and firelight now. On the 56th day, Clara begins coughing again. It's dry at first, just a scratch, but by evening it deepens. Your mother gives her water rubs, her back whispers old nursery rhymes into her hair. Clara smiles weakly. She says she misses peaches. You promise she'll have peaches in Oregon. You hope you're not lying. That night as she sleeps, your mother looks at you over the fire. Her face is lined deeper than before. Promise me something, she says. You nod. If something happens to me, don't turn back. Don't stop. Not even for Clara. You try to protest, but she cuts you off. I've lived my life, but she hasn't. And you? She pauses. You were always going to leave the old world behind, even if we'd stayed in Missouri. The fire crackles between you. Somewhere in the dark, a wolf howls. Another answers. You sit there for a long time. Then you take her hand and say, "We'll keep going." And you mean it. The trail will not take all of you. Not yet. The wind changes on the 58th day. It comes from the west now, stronger, colder, as if Oregon itself is exhaling. You wake to frost on your blanket. Your breath clouds the air. Clara shivers in her sleep, arms wrapped around the wooden horse Jonah carved for her. Your mother's hands are cracked from the cold. She tries to boil water, but the firewood is damp and the smoke stings your eyes. She curses softly under her breath. You've never heard her curse before. The mountains begin to rise ahead. Not distant like a painting, but real now, looming and sharp. They block the sky, cast long shadows across the land. Everyone talks about them in low voices. They don't look like salvation. They look like judgment. Cooper gathers the group and says the next weeks will be the hardest yet. Steeper trails, narrow passes, colder nights. He says if anyone's going to turn back, this is the time. No one does. There's nothing left behind you anymore. The wagons move slower now. Each mile takes a day, it seems. The oxen groan with every uphill pull. The wheels grind against rock, and your boots slip in the loose gravel. You fall once hard, scrape your palms bloody. When you look up, the trail still stretches on ahead, merciless, indifferent. Clara coughs more now. At night, it sounds like something tearing. Your mother crushes pine needles into boiling water, makes her breathe the steam. It helps a little, but not enough. You lose another traveler that week, an older man named Franklin. He'd been quiet the whole journey, but kind. Gave Clara a peppermint on the second day. You remember that. He simply doesn't wake up one morning. They bury him quickly. No tears. Everyone's too tired. You whisper thank you before the earth covers him. Clara asks if heaven is real. You say yes, of course. But even as you say it, you wonder. Because this trail feels like something God might have abandoned. On the 62nd day, the snow begins. Just a few flakes at first light, delicate. They melt on your skin, vanish like illusions. But by afternoon, the sky is heavy and the flakes fall faster, thicker. Soon the ground is white. The trail disappears beneath it. The oxen struggle. The wagons slip. People wrap themselves in everything they have, blankets, rags, old shirts, stitched into makeshift cloaks. You begin to dread nightfall, because night means cold, real cold. The kind that sinks into your bones and whispers awful things. That you won't wake up, that your fire will die, that the trail will freeze solid and you'll be stuck here forever frozen, just steps from the end. You huddle together in the wagon with your mother and Clara. Your breath turns the canvas damp. Clara coughs. Your mother hums old hymns. You don't sleep. Just stare into the dark and think about Missouri. Not with longing, just with confusion. It feels like another life. The storm doesn't break for 2 days. You ration everything. Beans, coffee, dried apples. You chew slowly, imagining flavor. Your stomach knots itself into silence. Then just as suddenly the clouds lift. The sun returns, weak but welcome. The snow begins to melt, leaving behind mud and slush and the smell of rot. You press forward, boots squelching in the wet. One wagon loses a wheel in the muck. It takes 6 men to lift it out. The woman inside, pregnant, pale, weeping, clutches her belly like it's all she has left. Later, you help her build a shelter from pine branches and canvas. She nods at you, eyes empty. You wonder how many people have lost themselves out here, not to death, but to despair. Elias surprises you that night. He brings Clara a piece of hard candy, says he found it tucked deep in a pocket. He doesn't smile, but he watches her eat it, watches her eyes light up just a little. Then he turns and walks away. You don't stop him, but something inside you warms just for a moment. The next days bring silence. Not from the land, it's always whispering. The creak of trees, the groan of wagons, the hiss of wind, but from the people. No one speaks unless they have to. Everyone is saving breath, saving strength, saving the last pieces of themselves for what's still ahead. You see a bear on the ridge one morning, massive, still, watching. You freeze. It does nothing, just blinks, then turns and vanishes into the trees. You wonder if it was real. Everything feels blurred now, like you're walking through a memory or a fever dream. And then you see them, boot prints, just off the trail, half melted in the snow, recent. You kneel, press your fingers to them. They're not from your party. The tread is strange, familiar. Your heart leaps, Jonah. You follow them into the woods, heart pounding. 10 steps, 20. Then you hear a snap behind you. You turn. Just a deer. It stares, then bolts. You look down. The prints vanish at a fallen log. Gone. You return to the wagon. That night, you don't tell Clara or your mother. You just lie there listening to the wind rattle the canvas and wonder if ghosts leave footprints. The snow returns with a vengeance on the 67th day. This time it's not gentle. It slams down from the sky like punishment. Wet, heavy, unrelenting. The wagons crawl forward for an hour, 2 at most, then stop. The trail is gone, erased under white. Cooper calls a halt. You circle the wagons as always, but it feels different now. Tighter. Like you're drawing a line in the earth to keep the world out. The oxen huddle together, their flanks steaming. The fire sputters. You dig a trench around the camp, hoping it'll keep the runoff away. It doesn't. Your mother's lips are blue. Clara's cough deepens. She tries to hide it, muffles it in a bundle of rags, but you hear it. Everyone hears it. She's getting weaker, and the trail is only getting meaner. That night, a boy from another family, Sammy, aged 9, wanders from his wagon. They find him the next morning under a pine tree, curled like a sleeping rabbit, but cold. Too cold. His mother doesn't cry. She just lifts him in her arms, takes him to the fire, and rocks back and forth for hours. The flames flicker shadows across her face. No one says a word. You help bury him at noon. The ground is frozen. It takes 3 hours. You start to wonder if the trail is alive. Not like a beast, but something worse. A god, maybe. A god that asks for sacrifices, a toll in blood and sleep and names you'll never speak again. Each time someone dies, the wind picks up just a little as if it's breathing them in. On the 70th day, food runs low. You ration rice and bacon, boil bones into weak broth. Clara refuses her share, says she's not hungry, but her eyes look glassy. Her lips are pale. Your mother makes her drink anyway. Elias suggests hunting. Cooper agrees. You volunteer. You leave with Elias and 2 others, shotguns slung over shoulders, boots crunching through snow. The forest is still, too still. After hours of tracking, you spot movement. A deer antler's wide coat dusted white. Elias raises his gun, but the animal bolts before he can aim. You don't see anything else that day. You return with nothing but tired feet and shame. That night, someone steals food from another wagon. A bag of cornmeal, 2 strips of dried meat. The camp erupts in whispers. Suspicion. Accusation. A man is blamed, though there's no proof. He swears it wasn't him, but Cooper doesn't care. You endanger us all, he says. We can't afford thieves. The man is cast out. No violence, no screaming, just silence as he walks into the trees, coat pulled tight, head low. You don't see him again. The mood shifts after that. Every sound is sharper, every glance laced with fear. People keep their food hidden, knives close. You hold Clara closer now, even when she sleeps. On the 73rd day, she doesn't rise. You shake her gently. She stirs, but her eyes don't open fully. Her forehead is hot, skin clammy. She tries to speak, but her voice is paper thin. Your mother wets a cloth, places it on her head. You fetch more pine resin, more bark tea. Nothing helps. She sleeps most of the day. You sit beside her, carving little animals from wood scraps. Rabbits, horses, even a lopsided bear. You place them in a circle around her as if they're guarding her. She stirs once and smiles. Tell me a story, she whispers. You do. A tale about a girl who crossed a magic trail to reach a golden land. A land where the sun was soft and warm, and no one ever coughed. Clara listens with her eyes closed. When you finish, she sighs. I hope it's real. You swallow the lump in your throat and nod. So do I. That night the wind howls louder than ever. It shakes the canvas, moans through the trees. You sit with your rifle watching the darkness, just in case. At some point you think you see someone standing at the edge of the trees. Just a shape, motionless. You step outside, the wagon rifle raised. But there's nothing. Just snow and shadow. You wonder if it was Jonah, or if it was you unraveling. On the 74th day, the sky clears. For the first time in what feels like years, the sun shines through. It warms your skin, melts the edges of the snow. Sparks glint off the icy trees like little fires. Clara wakes. She eats half a biscuit and smiles. You don't cry, but your chest feels tight for hours. You walk that day, farther than usual. Cooper says the pass is coming soon. A narrow trail through the mountains and beyond it the final stretch. The others murmur. Some don't believe him. Others don't care. Everyone just wants it to end. You crest a hill at dusk and see it. The pass, jagged, narrow, twisting through the mountains like a scar. a corridor carved by time and pain. Beyond it, more trail, always more trail. But it feels different now. You grip your rifle, look back at the camp. Clara is awake. Your mother's hands are warm again. Elias is building a fire. You breathe deep. And for the first time in weeks, the air doesn't hurt. You whisper to the wind, "We're still here." And the wind for once says nothing back. The pass waits for you like a narrow throat of stone. It rises between two mountain shoulders, steep and winding, dark with shadow even at midday. On the 75th morning, you lace your boots tighter and say a quiet goodbye to the open plains behind you. There's no ceremony, no last look, just forward, always forward. The wagons ascend single file, one by one groaning, swaying their wooden wheels, scraping against stone. The oxen struggle, the men shout. The children stay silent, clutching anything that feels solid. You walk beside your wagon, hands pressed flat against the sideboard, ready to catch, to brace, to do something, anything, if it tips. Above, loose stones skitter down the cliffs. You don't look up. You don't want to know what else might be watching. Clara sits upright again, tucked beneath blankets, her face still pale but her eyes more alert. She holds the wooden horse Jonah carved, whispering to it like an old friend. Her cough has faded to a whisper, but every time she shivers, your stomach clenches. Halfway through the pass, a wheel splinters. It's not yours. The wagon behind you lurches sideways. Someone screams. A crate of nails spills across the path, metal pinging and scattering. You jump back just in time as the axle gives way. The wagon groans, rolls sideways, and crashes into the ravine below. Everything vanishes into silence. You hear a baby crying, then silence again. By the time the dust clears, 3 people are gone. A mother, a father, and the child still swaddled, still as stone. They don't stop to bury them. The ground is too steep, too cold. You press on. That night, the fire burns weak. The wood is damp and refuses to catch. Elias feeds it anyway, like he's trying to will it to life. He says nothing, but his hands tremble as he sharpens his knife over and over and over. Your mother wraps Clara in every cloth you own. She hums again, no melody, just sound, while staring into the flames. Her eyes have turned glassy, but her hands are steady. You offer to take the first watch. Cooper agrees. You sit at the edge of camp, rifle across your lap, listening to the wind scrape across stone. It sounds like voices, not whispers, not screams, just names. Names you once knew. Franklin, Sammy, Nora, Jonah. You close your eyes just for a moment. When you open them, the fire is out. You scramble to relight it. Your hands are clumsy. The flint strikes once, twice. Finally spark, flame, life. You exhale. No one wakes. The trail doesn't kill you with violence. It kills you with waiting. On the 76th day, you reach the summit. It isn't marked. There's no sign, no triumph. Just an open ledge where the mountain dips and the trail begins to slope again, this time downward. You stand there looking out, and for the first time you see green again. Not the pale sagebrush of the plains or the tired needles of some, but real green, lush, alive. You don't cheer. You just keep walking. The descent is slower, trickier. The wagons want to roll too fast, pulled by their own weight. Ropes are tied around the wheels to act as brakes. Everyone moves with caution eyes on their feet. It takes a day and a half to reach the base. But when you do, the land opens up again. Wide meadows, tall grass, streams that glitter in the sun, wildflowers that haven't yet been crushed by boots. Clara laughs. A small sound, dry, rusty, but a laugh all the same. You look at her, she's color in her cheeks again. She eats half a biscuit without coughing once. Your mother kisses her forehead and closes her eyes in quiet thanks. That night you eat around the fire with a silence that feels earned. You're not safe. Not yet. But you're somewhere else. Somewhere softer. The trail continues, of course it does. It always does. But it feels different now. The land curves gently. The soil is richer. You see birds again. Hear frogs near the streams. You even catch sight of a fox red sleek vanishing into the brush like a secret. On the 79th day, you see something that stops you cold. Smoke. Not from your camp. Not from any fire you've lit. But rising from the trees ahead, Cooper signals the caravan to stop. You and 3 others go ahead to scout. You find them less than a mile out another party. Wagons circled, fires burning, children running barefoot through the grass. A dog barks. They're alive. You step into the clearing like a ghost, and a woman cries out when she sees you. She runs to you, touches your coat, looks at your boots. God, she says, you made it through. You nod, unsure what else to say. The 2 caravans merge for the night. Food is shared. Stories passed around the fire. A man sings. You haven't heard music in weeks. Elias hums along. Clara plays with the other children. Your mother sits with another woman, holding her hand like they've known each other for years. And you watch the stars. There are more of them tonight. Or maybe you're just finally looking again. You wonder if Jonah sees them too, wherever he is. You hope he does, because you're starting to believe in Oregon again. Not as a place, but as a direction. And you're still walking. You wake on the 80th morning to the smell of coffee. Not the weak trail brew you've grown used to, but strong, rich, and warm. The other caravan, fresh from the Willamette Valley, brought beans roasted just months ago. They offer it freely. You cradle the tin cup in your hands, breathing it in like it's magic. Clara is already awake, playing with the dog. She laughs again, louder this time, and her voice doesn't crack. Your mother watches with a hand on her chest, as if holding her heart still. You were right, she whispers. We're almost there. But even as she says it, Cooper gathers the group. Don't get too comfortable, he warns. The last stretch is deceptive. There's no mercy left in the land. Just hills and river crossings. The other travelers confirm it. It's close, they say, but it doesn't feel close. You believe them. Still, you pack your wagon slower that day. There's less urgency in your muscles. The land is softer now, yes. But so are you. Clara helps load small bundles, her strength returning. Your mother braids her hair again, something she hasn't done since Fort Laramie. You glance up and see Elias watching the trees. He doesn't say anything, but his hands are no longer shaking. You think maybe he's starting to believe too. The merged caravans part ways by midday. They're settling here for a while, resting before finishing the journey. You consider staying with them just for a few days, but Cooper shakes his head. Every day you wait, he says, you invite winter, so you move forward, through meadows and groves and sudden ravines. The trail is narrow again in places, though the trees are thicker now, their trunks wide and moss-draped. Ferns curl at their bases. Sunlight streams through the canopy in golden shafts like something holy. Clara walks beside you, holding your hand. She picks up acorns, a tiny blue stone, a rusted button she insists is lucky. You smile for the first time in days. That night, the rain returns. It's softer than before. Not a storm, just a steady patter that drums the canvas like fingertips. You listen to it as you drift off, heart slow, belly full, the scent of pine and damp earth wrapping around you like a lullaby. You dream of home, not Missouri, not the life you left, but Oregon, a porch, a field, a tree with branches you could climb. Peace. When you wake, the rain has stopped. Mist curls across the ground. The air smells clean. You keep moving. On the 82nd day, you find a river too deep to ford. It roars through the valley, brown and swift, swollen from recent storms. Cooper calls a meeting. We build rafts, he says. We float the wagons across. The group groans, but no one argues. You work for 2 days, chopping logs, stripping rope, tying planks. Your hands blister, your shoulders ache. Clara helps peel bark. Your mother sharpens the hatchet. Even Elias helps without being asked. By the 3rd morning, the rafts are ready. Your wagon is the first to go. The oxen are led across upstream. You, your mother, and Clara climb aboard the makeshift platform of rope and timber. The wagon creaks as it's pushed into the current. The water grabs at it like a child tugging a toy. You grip the rail tightly, heart pounding. Clara clutches the horse. Your mother murmurs something that might be a prayer. For a moment, the raft spins. The front dips. Cold water sloshes over your boots. Then with a final shove, it glides to the far bank and scrapes against the rocks. You made it. One by one, the others cross. A few lose supplies. One raft nearly flips, but no one dies. That night, the fire burns high. Someone shares the last of their sugar. Someone else opens a bottle of whiskey saved for a moment just like this. You all drink. Even your mother. Even Clara, just a drop on her tongue to taste something warm. Cooper tells a story. It's about the first wagon to ever reach the valley back when the trail was still just animal paths and guesswork. He says it took them a year. They buried more than half their group. You wonder if anyone told their story. Then Elias surprises everyone. He pulls out a fiddle. You didn't know he had it. It must have been hidden deep in the wagon wrapped in cloth. He tunes it carefully. The strings creak like old bones. Then he plays. The sound is thin, raspy. But it's music, real music. Clara sways beside the fire, eyes closed. Your mother hums, and for a moment the trail disappears. The mountains fade, the pain softens. It's just you, your people, and the night. When the song ends, no one claps. They just sit in silence, letting the echo settle in their chests. Later, as you lie under the stars, Clara asks, "Do you think Oregon will have flowers?" You say yes. She smiles. "Then I want to plant a garden. And in that moment, you believe her. You believe in the flowers, in the porch, in the field. You believe that soon, just over the next ridge, your trail will become a home. Certainly. Here's section 11 of your bedtime history script, What It Was Really Like to Live on the Oregon Trail. The final leg begins as the trail tightens, and the people who have survived it carry more than just supplies. Section 11. On the 84th morning, you wake with the ache of nearing something. You feel it in your bones in the way the birds sound closer now, in the way the breeze carries not just cold, but the scent of damp soil and pine needles. It's subtle, almost imaginary, but it's there. Clara is humming again. Not a real song, just a string of notes as she walks. Her cough has faded to almost nothing. Her cheeks are rounder, colors returning to her face. Your mother still rises slowly with careful knees and a tight back, but she hums too. There's more light in her eyes. Even Elias seems taller. He stopped looking over his shoulder. Cooper tells you you've crossed into the edge of the Willamette Valley. We're still a week out, he warns. More if the rain returns. But it doesn't feel like a warning. It feels like a finish line you can almost see. You pass through stretches of thick forest, trees taller than anything back in Missouri, red and green and golden at their tips. Moss dangles from the branches. The world feels enchanted. The wagon wheels bump gently over softer ground now. The trail winds rather than climbs. No cliffs, no freezing winds, no mountains, just the path, just your people. You pass a burned-out clearing on the 85th day. Blackened trees, scorched earth. It looks like it happened years ago, but it shakes you. Clara asks if lightning did it. Your mother says yes, but you both know better. You find arrowheads in the dirt later that day. You don't speak of it. On the 86th morning, Cooper calls a stop. One of the oxen, an old gray, collapses mid-step. The animal doesn't cry out, doesn't fight, just folds gently into the grass and exhales once long and deep. The owner, a thin man named Webb, drops to his knees. He buries his face in the ox's flank, his shoulders heaving. That beast pulled his whole life west. Now it lies still. The group offers help, but Webb waves everyone off. "Let me say goodbye," he says. "You understand. You think about the trail, how many things it's taken, how it leaves behind bones and silence and changed people. You wonder how many parts of yourself you've buried already. By the 87th day, the forest begins to thin. You start seeing things again, signs of other humans. A rusted horseshoe nailed to a tree. A rope swing rotting from a branch. The faint outline of wagon ruts worn into the soil. Someone else walked here. Someone made it through. It doesn't feel haunted. It feels possible. Clara finds a broken spoon and insists it came from a rich family who built a mansion out of logs. You agree. You want her to believe in mansions, in silver, in stories. That night, Cooper tells you the river ahead leads straight to Oregon City, that from its banks settlers have seen chimneys, real ones, smoke twisting upward into a sky untouched by grief. You sleep with your boots off for the first time in days. Your dreams are filled with strange things, Jonah standing in a field, eyes closed, listening to wind that doesn't blow. Your father sitting on a porch you've never seen carving something in his lap. Elias whistling a tune from the top of a hill vanishing before you reach him. You wake with tears on your cheeks. On the 88th morning, you cross another stream. Shallow, clear, cold. You let Clara splash in it for a few minutes. She squeals barefoot, chasing minnows. Her laugh bounces off the trees. You want to bottle that sound. You want to carry it like fire. The group stops early that day. Cooper says to rest, says it's been earned. You think it's his way of saying thank you, not with words, but with mercy. Elias plays the fiddle again. The strings are more in tune now. The song is still sad, but it feels gentler, like it forgives you. Someone starts singing. Your mother joins. You don't know the words, but you hum anyway. The fire burns higher. Clara leans on your shoulder. Her hair smells like wood smoke and river water. Your mother wraps her arms around both of you. The stars are clear. The sky is velvet. No one talks about who they've lost, but everyone is thinking about it. On the 89th day, the wind shifts. Warm, soft. It carries something new with it beyond pine and damp earth. You smell smoke, not from a campfire, from homes, real homes. You crest a ridge just before sunset, and there it is. Far below, nestled in green valleys, scattered like seeds, rooftops, tiny fences, smoke rising in long curls from chimneys, a faint bell ringing somewhere too far to reach, a river cutting through it all like a silver ribbon. Oregon. Not a dream, not a myth. Real. Clara gasps. Your mother grabs your hand. Elias takes off his hat. No one speaks, because the trail for the first time is silent, like it knows it's almost done, like it's giving you space to feel what comes next. You breathe deep, and you start walking, not to survive, not to escape, but toward a beginning. On the 90th morning, you wake before the sun. You rise without thinking, pull on your coat, and step outside into the gray hush of dawn. The sky is thick with mist, the ground slick with dew. For a moment, the world is perfectly still. No coughing, no creaking wagons, no murmured voices, just quiet. You walk alone to the edge of camp where the ridge overlooks the valley below. Oregon still lies in the distance, closer now, real but unreachable just yet. And yet something inside you shifts. You're no longer chasing it. You're arriving. When you return to camp, Clara is already awake. She's wrapping her doll in a strip of flannel and telling it quite seriously that it has to behave today. Your mother is rolling up the bedrolls slower than usual, but with purpose. Elias is tightening the straps on his wagon. He hums without knowing it. Even the oxen seem to know. They snort softly, stir in place like they can smell the end of the trail too. Cooper tells you the last miles are easy, but to stay cautious. There's always one last test, he mutters. The land likes to remind you it's still in charge. You don't ask what he means. You already know. The trail winds through thicker trees now, the earth dark and rich under your boots. The path narrows briefly, then opens into meadows speckled with color. Wildflowers. Yellow, purple, white. You haven't seen so much life in one place in months. Clara picks a handful, arranges them into a crown, and places it on her head. "Do I look like a queen?" she asks. You tell her yes. You don't even need to pretend. Around midday, the wagons reach the banks of a wide, fast-moving river. This one isn't like the others. It's deep cold and swollen from early fall rains. The current tugs at its banks with invisible hands. It's the last barrier. On the other side, Oregon City, the end of the Oregon Trail. Cooper signals for the wagons to stop. He walks the bank, studies the water, kneels to touch it. Then he turns and announces that the crossing will happen tomorrow. No sense in rushing. The air in camp feels charged that night. Everyone speaks in half whispers. Some people cry. Others laugh too loudly. It's not celebration, not yet. It's the ache that comes before relief. The final breath you hold before a wound closes. You sit beside the fire with Clara and your mother. She's sewing again, mending one of Clara's sleeves, with hands that have stitched 100 wounds and washed 100 dishes and held you steady for the worst 90 days of your life. Will it feel different, you ask her? When it's over, she doesn't answer right away. Then it'll feel quieter for a while. Later, Elias walks over and sits beside you. He places something in your hand. Jonah's wooden horse. You blink. "Where did you found it near the pass?" he says quietly. Didn't know if it was the same one, but it felt like it. You nod, throat thick. You place the new horse beside the old one, lined up neatly beside Clara's feet. She's already asleep, curled under her blanket, like a cat, wildflowers still tangled in her braid. You watch the fire burn down. You don't sleep that night. You sit in the darkness, listening to the river. It sounds like breathing, like the trail itself is exhaling after all it's taken. You think about the names you've left behind. Franklin, Sammy, Hannah, Nora, Thomas, Jonah, and the ones you've carried forward. Your mother, Clara, Elias, yourself. On the 91st morning, the camp is up before sunrise. No one needs to be told. Cooper and 2 others wade into the water first, checking depth current. Then the rafts are assembled again. Cautious, methodical. One by one, the wagons go. You hold your breath every time. Some float true. Some drift off course and have to be caught with ropes. One nearly tips but rights itself at the last second. Yours is last. You board with your mother and Clara, everything you own packed tightly around your feet. The raft creaks under the weight. Your oxen are already across, tied to a pine tree on the far bank, stamping nervously. You push off. The river grabs you immediately. Cold. Hungry. The raft rocks. You grip the sideboards. Clara clutches your coat. Your mother holds the rifle steady in her lap. Midway through, a log bumps the underside. The raft jolts. A corner dips into the water. Everything shifts. For a heartbeat, you think you're going under. But the raft rights itself. A breath. A shout. The far bank draws near. Then solid ground. You leap off first, help steady the raft. You pull Clara into your arms. Then your mother. Then the rest. You've made it. You're standing in Oregon. For a long time, no one speaks. Then someone laughs. Then someone cries. Then the sound spreads, clapping, cheering, sobbing silence, breaking apart like glass. You don't make a sound. You just kneel in the mud, arms around Clara, eyes wide. Because for the first time, the trail is behind you. And ahead, a field, a road, a cabin waiting to be built. a life waiting to be lived. You expect there to be a moment, a single blinding moment, when it all clicks into place, when your feet touch Oregon soil and the pain lifts and you feel changed. But it doesn't come like that. The first few hours after the crossing are quiet, numb. The sun rises higher, burns through the mist, and warms your back as you walk down the path toward Oregon City. The dirt under your boots feels no different from Missouri's. The birds sing the same old tune. And yet, you know everything has changed. Your body knows. You keep walking. The town comes into view around a bend, small scattered houses, a low church with a steeple, a blacksmith hammering something invisible in the distance. There's a shop with glass windows, a dog sleeping on the stoop, and a woman sweeping her porch, as if she's never heard of the Oregon Trail. She waves. You wave back, unsure how. People from your group peel off as you approach the town. Some head toward cousins they haven't seen in years. Others go straight to land offices. Cooper speaks to a man in a vest and disappears down a side street. One by one, they drift into the world, no longer pioneers, just neighbors. Settlers, survivors. You don't know where to go. Elias appears beside you, eyes scanning the horizon. He's cleaned his coat, brushed the dust from his boots. He looks like a man who has decided to live again. You got a plan, he asks. You shake your head. He nods. I heard there's a valley east of here, good land. Forests, clean water. I was thinking, maybe we stake claims next to each other. You look at your mother, she nods. Clara squeezes your hand. Will there be room for a garden, she asks. You say yes, because there has to be. By sunset, you've registered your name with the town clerk, signed papers you barely understand, accepted a parcel of land you've never seen, and still it feels real. You sleep indoors that night, a bunkhouse with a real mattress. The room smells of soap and wood polish. There's a window. The sheets are rough but clean. Clara insists on sleeping by the window so she can watch the moon. Your mother hums herself to sleep. You lie there staring at the ceiling, but your mind is still on the trail. You think of the sound of wagon wheels, the creak of leather straps, the sudden hush when someone died, the way Jonah whispered to the stars like they owed him answers. You think of Franklin Nora Sammy, the boy with the crushed foot, the mother who buried her child under snow, the man who vanished in the trees. You made it. But you didn't come out whole. No one does. You rise early on the 92nd day, before anyone else, and step outside into the dawn light. The air is warmer here, wetter. It carries bird song and wood smoke and something softer like moss or memory. You walk. The land spreads out before you like a promise. Trees stand tall in the distance. The river snakes behind you, bending toward the coast. Hills roll beyond the edge of town, each one kissed by mist. Your land lies past those hills. You imagine what it will become. A house, a porch, rows of beans. A little fence maybe just to mark the edge of your effort. Clara planting tulips. Your mother resting in the sun. A shed where you'll keep the tools you never knew how to use until the trail forced them into your hands. You close your eyes, and for a moment it all feels worth it. You return to the bunkhouse to find Clara and your mother already packing. They're ready. They want to see it. You load what remains of your life into a cart, hitched with borrowed mules. Elias waits outside already mounted. He tips his hat. We ride together, you nod. You leave the town behind in silence. The path east is softer, wider, and this time you're not following a trail laid by someone else. You're choosing it. With every bump of the wheel, you feel yourself settle, not in your bones, in your heart. The Oregon Trail didn't deliver you. It unmade you. And now here on this clean stretch of earth, you get to decide who you'll become. The land is rough. Not cruel, not anymore, but wild, stubborn, and tangled. It stretches wide and uneven with thick underbrush and crooked trees. But there's water. A creek runs along the edge of your new property, its banks soft and muddy, its current slow and clear. You arrive on the 93rd day. There is no sign waiting for you. No ribbon. No road. Just the raw place where your life will begin. You step down from the cart, stretch your aching legs, and stare at it for a long time. The field is uneven. Moss clings to fallen logs. Birds scatter from the trees. The wind rustles leaves like it's testing your resolve. Your mother steps beside you. Well, she says it's not much. Then she smiles. And it is. Clara picks up a stick and draws lines in the dirt. The garden goes here, she says. And the house here. And I want chickens. Elias, camped nearby, sets to work immediately. He sharpens tools, measures timber, drives stakes into the ground to mark the frame of a cabin. You help. Of course you help. You've been helping for 93 days. But this time your hands work with hope. Each post you dig into the ground feels like planting a flag in your own name. Each log you lift is not just for shelter, it's for future warmth, future laughter, future rest. The work is hard. That hasn't changed. But it's different now. You're not running from weather or hunger or death. You're building something. The first night on the land, you sleep on the ground beneath a sky thick with stars. No canvas above you. No wagon to lean against. Just the open air and the sound of frogs down by the creek. You lie beside Clara and your mother, all of you wrapped in every blanket you still have. The earth smells rich. The air is full of promise. And still you cannot sleep. Your body twitches, half expecting the shout of danger. The wheel cracking. The baby crying. The coughing. The sudden silence that meant someone had slipped away for good. Your mind is still on the trail, but your heart is here. You rise before dawn on the 94th day. Elias is already up whittling a new handle for the axe. You say nothing, just nod. The trees groan in the wind as you begin cutting timber. One by one they fall, slow, careful work. Each thud is a heartbeat. Each swing a declaration. You're here. You're staying. By midday, the cabin frame begins to rise. Crude, uneven, but upright. Your mother starts gathering rocks for a hearth. Clara digs holes with her hands, looking for worms to put in a tin cup. She says she's going to name every chicken after someone from the trail. Not the dead ones, she adds. Only the people who made it. You find that you like that rule. By the end of the 95th day, you've raised 3 walls. A tarp covers the top. It leaks at night, but it keeps out the wind. You sleep with your head on a sack of beans, your coat rolled under your neck. Clara snores softly. Your mother's hand rests on your arm. It's not comfort. Not yet. But it's peace. You keep building. On the 96th day, a man rides up the trail and introduces himself as your neighbor. Jacob. He's 40, wears a beard down to his collarbone, and smells faintly of horses and soap. He brings bread. He says, "Welcome," and he means it. You ask how long he's lived here. He says, "Not long enough." That night, you eat the bread with salted lard, and it tastes like victory. You talk about planting, about how the soil here is better than any back east, about fences, about when to expect the first frost. Elias talks too. He even laughs. Your mother tells a story from your childhood. Clara listens with wide eyes as if she's just now remembering you were once smaller than she is. And you tired, worn-scarred, you smile. Because for the first time in 100 days, there's no trail behind you, only the road ahead. It's been 100 days since you left Independence. 100 days of dust and firelight, of hunger and storm, of quiet deaths and louder silences. 100 days of waking with fear in your chest, of walking until your feet bled, of wondering whether you would see the next morning. And now here you are, standing at the edge of your land with your hands on your hips, sweat on your brow, and something in your heart that feels dangerously close to joy. The cabin is finished. The roof leaks, but it holds. The chimney draws. The hearth is warm. The walls are rough-hewn pine sealed with moss and clay. There's a table now, a bedroll for Clara. A shelf your mother built with hands that once stitched lace, back home now rough and calloused and proud. Outside, there's a garden already forming, just dirt and stakes for now. But Clara's marked where the carrots will go, where the corn will stretch high, where the tulips will bloom. You planted wildflower seeds yesterday. You don't know if they'll grow, but you had to try. Elias built a small barn next to his own cabin a short ride away. He brings you nails. You share beans. He doesn't speak of his wife anymore, but sometimes he stares at the trees like he's speaking to her through them. Cooper is gone. He left the settlement a week ago, heading farther north. Said he didn't know how to stop walking yet. Some people are like that. The trail becomes a part of them, and they can't live in stillness. You think Jonah might have been like that too. Some nights you wonder where he went, whether he made it farther west, whether he settled with another group, whether he lies beneath a tree somewhere nameless, remembered only by the wind. You keep both horses, the one he carved and the one Elias gave you. Clara sleeps with them in her hands every night. Your mother hums again. She bakes bread now. It's dense and dry, but it tastes like something that came from the ground you earned. She writes in a journal, too. You asked her once what she was writing. Names, she said. Names of those you lost. Names of those who made it. Names of those who became something else along the way. Sometimes you sit by the creek and just listen. To the water, to the trees, to the quiet. You used to crave the sound of wagon wheels. Now you savor their absence. You no longer jump at shadows, no longer flinch when the wind changes. But you still carry it all inside. You always will, because the trail doesn't just end at Oregon. It stays in your skin, in the way you measure a day by steps instead of hours, in the way your muscles remember hunger, in the way your eyes scan the horizon always. The trail made you harder, but it also made you kinder, more patient, more grateful. And as you sit beside the field, you cleared yourself, watching Clara chase the chickens that bear the names of the living. You know this much is true: you did not come to Oregon to survive. You came to begin, and you did. So now, as the fire fades and your eyes grow heavy, take one last moment to breathe in the silence of this story. The Oregon Trail was not just a road to the west. It was a crucible, a long, punishing test of the human spirit. You set out with strangers, and along the way you lost some of them. Others changed. And you changed most of all. You learned what hunger feels like, what hope costs, what it means to keep going when your feet scream and your soul pleads to turn back. But you also learned what survival looks like, not as a triumph, but as a quiet, steady choice. A step forward, then another. Every grave you passed, every storm you endured, every tear you didn't have time to shed, it led here, to this cabin, to this field, to this moment of stillness. You are no longer on the trail. You are home. And even if it doesn't look like what you imagined, even if the porch is crooked and the roof leaks when it rains, it is yours. You made it with your own hands. You earned it with every blister. So rest now. Let the wind settle. Let the land rise to meet you. Close your eyes and let Oregon hold you, just as the trail once tested you. You've walked far enough. You can sleep now.